Fourth principle. You got to teach your children how to select their companions. I'm telling you, Dad, you got to get on the offense here. You don't sit on the sidelines when the ball's in your court. And believe me, from the time they're 1 year old through they're about 8 years old, you've got an opportunity to shape their minds and help them on how to make good choices on who their friends are. The Apostle Paul says bad company corrupts. And what does it corrupt, folks? Morals. Bad company corrupts good morals. Your children, believe me, cannot rise above their acquaintances. Rarely does a child have the capacity to elevate himself beyond the constituents in which they function. You have to select. You have to help them learn how to select their friends. In chapter number 1 and verse number 10, my son, if sinners entice you, don't consent. It's amazing for how that in one fleeting minute of pleasure can totally shut off a person's brain and inflict lifelong trauma, pointless, senseless. Gang violence is a relationship to a person that's not been taught how to pick their friends. Stacy Lim, this last week, was shot with a .357 Magnum because she wouldn't let them take the wheels off of her car. I think it's unthinkable what people will do for a thrill. And how that people will get sucked in. Innocent people will get, naive people will get sucked in to a gang, to a group, to 3 people. I've said it 1,000 times. You get 2 people to say it's okay to wear aluminum foil, and every one of them will want to wear aluminum foil. Just this last week, a little boy in New York City wouldn't take dope with his friends. And so you know what they did? They doused him with kerosene and set him on fire. This last week, what they tell us, 2 crazy people drove through east of Oklahoma City, saw 2 little girls walking down the street, and decided it would be fun to watch them die. That starts right here with Dad saying, what kind of friends are you hanging around with? Fathers, you have a responsibility before God to help your children pick who their companions are going to be. Fifth, I got to control your body. You've got to teach your kids to control their body. I've said it 1,000 times. Oh, that's a girl with a 25-year-old body and a 7-year-old mind. You nod, you know what I'm talking about. There's a kid that's got the muscles and the strength of a man, you might say a mule, and a mind of a peanut. Control your body. The wisdom of God, the spiritual wisdom that a father is supposed to be teaching his son and his daughter is going to be able to help them escape the pressures of this world. To stand on their own when the passions of their heart says go one way and their mind says no. That begins with you as dad, teaching them to control their bodies. Number 6, teach your son and your daughter how to treat members of the opposite sex. I don't say the word sex in public very often, do I? But I'm sitting here telling you this morning, we live in a sex-craved, sin-sick world. And we as fathers have to teach, number 1, our sons how to treat women. And our daughters how to treat men. And And this role of a man and role of a woman is so messed up today that, Dad, you're the foothold. You're the one hanging on with the last string in a 70-mile-an-hour windstorm of the sail of this world that's ready to blow it completely to another world. And I'm telling you, you've got to teach your sons to be totally fulfilled by their own marriage. You've got to teach their daughters that they are to be faithful to their husbands. You've got to teach your son that his wife is to be his best friend, his companion, to supply his needs all the days of his life, to do all the things that Proverbs chapter 31 ends up being. Guys, it's your job. Wise father, what's he doing? He's saying to his son or his daughter, fear the Lord. Guard your mind. Obey your parents. Select your companions wisely. Control your body. Enjoy your husband or your wife. They're key lessons. Give me just a few minutes, would you? As I wrap this up. 7, watch your words. Teach your son, your daughter to be careful how they speak. I've never been a master of the English language. I get tripped over it all the time. But according to the Word of God, we are to be careful how that we speak. In chapter number 4, verse 24, it says, my son. He says in verse number 20, and down through verse number 24, put away from you this deceitful mouth. Take away from you devious lips. Make them far from you. Make sure that you don't speak lies. Make sure that you don't speak in hypocrisy. Make sure you don't speak perversively. Don't speak disrespectfully. Speak the truth. I'm about as far away as a human being could possibly get from using curse words or anything closely related to a curse word. I don't say darn because it's close to something else. I don't use God's name in vain, and I don't say, oh my. I grew up with a dad that called me everything under the sun. I didn't understand most of those words. And when I understood them and put them back into sentences, they didn't make any sense. But I've attempted to pass on to my children that what comes out of their mouth will hopefully be good words. Lips of righteous speaking. So, Dad, teach your kids to speak and use right words. Bill Cosby got in all kinds of trouble talking to black people about talking black, right? Maybe we need to stand up in front of a group of people and say, let's stop cussing. Let's stop using God's name in vain. Amen. Let's stop using slang. Let's stop degrading who we are and speak the truth. Amen. And teach our kids to do the same thing. Number 8. Oh my goodness. Guys, teach your son or your daughter to work. Teach your children how to work. And teach them by your example. What does your dad do all day long? Well, he lays around and watches television. When my dad gets in, he lays on the couch, and if he didn't have a remote control, he'd die. Teach your children the value of work.